propose that government would waive any applicable stamp duty on the transfer of the 51,858,299 shares of Republic Bank Limited from Colonial Life Insurance Company Limited to the government of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, as well as on the transfer by the government of the 51,858,299 Republic Bank shares to the CLICO Investment Fund. I would waive any applicable stamp duty on the transfer of units in the CLICO Investment Fund by government to bondholders after the expiration of the initial offer period. I would amend the Income Tax Act and the Corporation Tax Act to expressly exempt from tax the dividends or other distributions paid to resident individuals and companies by the CLICO Investment Fund, as well as by the profits accruing to the trust under the CLICO Investment Fund. Effective January 1st, 2013, I propose to implement for persons in the creative industry the following tax incentives currently available to sponsors and producers. 150% tax deduction up to a maximum of $3 million for the corporate sponsorship of nationals in the local fashion industry. 150% tax deduction up to a maximum of $3 million for the corporate sponsorship of audio, visual, or video productions for the purpose of local education or local entertainment. And 150% tax deduction up to a maximum of $3 million may be claimed by local production companies in respect of their own production. During the fiscal year 2013, the Minister of Trade, Industry and Investment will collaborate with the Chamber of Commerce to establish the necessary guarantee with the Controller of Customs and Excise in order to facilitate relief from customs duty under the Carnet system for persons in the creative industries. During the fiscal year 2013, I propose to implement for persons in the creative industries, in particular the film industry, a regime to allow them to import into Trinidad and Tobago equipment and film-specific goods duty-free. During the fiscal year 2013, I propose to implement for persons in the creative industries the zero rating of value-added tax on machinery and equipment. The Ministry of Trade, Industry and Investment will collaborate with persons in the creative industry to determine the goods that should be zero rated. I propose that the non-taxable special allowance now being paid to the members of the Protective Service will be extended to include the Special Reserve Police officers. This would be effected by an amendment to the Special Reserve Police Act, Chapter 1503, and will take effect from October 2nd. The purchase of CCTV cameras and digital video recording equipment for homeowners, communities, and business security will be exempt from customs duty. In respect of corporate social responsibility, I propose to encourage companies to provide direct financial contributions to sporting activities by increasing the maximum allowable deduction from $2 million to $3 million commencing. We propose to reduce our food import bill by 50%, or just over $2 billion per year, by 2050. Achieving food security is our top priority. We all recall the global food price shocks in the period 2006 to 2010, when domestic inflation reached an annual average level of 9.1%, compared with an annual average of 4.8% in the period 2001 to 2005. The increased levels of inflation stemming from our increasingly imported food requirements have had a harmful impact on our citizens, particularly our most vulnerable, as they sought to manage the business of their everyday lives. Consequently, it is proposed on a temporary basis that value-added tax would be removed from all food items except luxury items and alcoholic beverages. Effective October 1st, 2012, the taxes paid on gaming tables and other devices by private members club would be increased as follows. For every baccarat table or device, $50,000 per annum. For every blackjack table, $60,000 per annum. For every Caribbean stud poker table, $75,000 per annum. For every dice table, $35,000 per annum. For every regular poker table, $30,000 per annum. For every pool table, $2,000 per annum. For every roulette table, $60,000 per annum. For every rum 32 table, $75,000 per annum. For every sip-san table, $75,000 per annum. For every slot machine, $12,000 per annum. For every other table or device not mentioned above, $30,000 per annum. In respect of the national insurance system, I propose that in respect of maternity benefits, the Maternity Protection Act was amended to increase the period for maternity leave from 13 weeks to a period of 14 weeks on May 22nd, 2012. It is proposed that the relevant regulations of the NIS Act be amended to provide the NIB with a statutory authority to pay the 14-week maternity allowance with effect from May 22nd, 2012. In respect of other benefits payments, all NIS benefits will be increased by an overall 50%, with the exception of the minimum retirement pension, which was already increased effective February 2012. The following grants, maternity, special maternity, retirement grant, and funeral grants will all be increased by 50% in 2013. The other benefits, such as sickness, maternity allowance, invalidity, survivors, and employment injury, will be increased by 25% in 2013 and 20% in 2014. In respect of minimum survivors benefits in respect of spouses, children, dependent parents, and orphan children of a deceased contributor or an NIS pensioner will be increased by amending the National Insurance Act. The increased benefits will be as follows: spouse, $600, child, $600, dependent parent, $600. If only one parent is alive, $600 if only one parent is alive, or $300 each if both are alive, and orphan, $1,200. In respect of retirement pension, the old earnings class system will be converted into a career average indexed earnings system. In respect of the modification of the present contribution system, it is proposed to change the contribution rate of 11.4% to 11.7% in 2013 and 12% in 2014, resulting in a very small increase of 0.1% for employees and 0.2% for employers in 2013, and similar increases in 2014. In respect of the maximum insurable earnings, they will be increased from $8,300 in 2012 to $10,000 in 2013, $12,000 in 2014, $13,000 in 2015, $14,000 in 2016, $16,000 in 2017, $18,000 in 2018, $20,000 in 2019, and $22,000 in 2020. It is proposed that the annual increases in the maximum insurable earnings and the new pension benefit formula take effect in 2013 through amendments to the National Insurance Act, and the annual increases would take effect in the respective years. In respect of the inclusion of the self-employed in the NIS system, the National Insurance Act will be amended to allow for the inclusion of self-employed persons in the national insurance system with access to retirement benefits from as early as age 60, subject to the In respect of voluntary retirement pension, all working persons, as well as those who are self-employed, will be afforded the opportunity to provide additional retirement income to supplement their NIS benefits. This plan will be separate from the national insurance system and will provide an investment instrument at competitive rates. In respect of greater coverage for employment injury, employers will be provided with a full range of employment injury benefits in order to reduce their burden in complying with both the Workmen's Compensation Act and the National Insurance Act. In respect of the disability assistance grants, I propose to increase the disability assistance grant by $200 per month to $1,500 per month. With respect to a child with medically certified disabilities, this will rise from $800 to $1,000 per month. This measure will take effect from February 1st, 2013. In fiscal 2013, we shall embark on a number of projects. New hospitals in Point Fortin, Arima, Sangre Grande, and Chaguanas. The National Public Health Laboratory and the Caribbean Public Health Agency at Coro, and the upgrade of the San Fernando General Hospital. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Health will fund these projects through public-private partnerships and joint ventures. The Ministry of Health is also at an advanced stage of pursuing such arrangements for oncology, cardiac surgery, and organ transplants. Moreover, negotiations are at an advanced stage for establishing financing agreements for a hospital in Couva, which will cater for children and adults, and which would have a burns unit, a teaching hospital at Chancery Lane, San Fernando, and a National Center for Non-Communicable Diseases in Pinal. The economic recovery of Tobago is high on our agenda, as we are required to do under the provisions of the Tobago Assembly Act No. 40 of 1996. We are collaborating with the Tobago House of Assembly to ensure that the special needs of Tobago are met. The budgetary allocation for the Tobago House of Assembly for fiscal 2013 is $2.356 billion, of which $2.006 billion would be for recurrent expenditure and $350 million for capital expenditure. Mr. Speaker, further, Tobago will receive an additional $875 million under the various other heads of expenditure. Moreover, the government has capitalized the Loan Guarantee Fund for the tourism-related sector, including hotels, with a room stock of under 50 rooms, with an additional $100 million, with 2 further annual injections of $50 million. The government is addressing the financial needs of those hotels in excess of 50 rooms, and the government, through public-private partnerships, will seek to establish 1,000 new rooms through branded hotels. Mr. Speaker, the Tobago House of Assembly would continue its developmental work, in particular in relation to the tourism sector. The government will support the efforts of the THA to develop the human and social capital, the physical infrastructure, and enterprise in Tobago. The programs and policies are aimed at building a competitive Tobago economy for creating sustainable jobs, in particular for the youth of Tobago. Community centers, including those at Lowlands, Bloody Bay, Pembroke, and Scarborough, are being constructed or upgraded. And the new Scarborough Market, new fishing depots at Castara, Charlottesville, and Palatuvier are being constructed. The Scarborough Library will be completed. Supporting these projects is a focus on entrepreneurship and innovation, with the establishment of financial education and business innovation centers. He has already commenced the development and implementation of a multifaceted program to achieve the goal of making Trinidad and Tobago the #1 location in the region for tourist arrivals. As an initial step, we are committed as is the Tobago House of Assembly, to ensuring that Tobago becomes, first and foremost, a tourism destination of choice for both domestic and international tourists. Accordingly, the Ministry of Tourism, in collaboration with the Tobago House of Assembly, is increasing its marketing and promotion programs. Over the last 3 months, we have established the Trinidad and Tobago Tourism Business Development Limited as a corporate body to administer the Tobago Tourism Development Fund. This fund would provide guarantees for 2 major business categories of the tourism sector in Tobago: debt restructuring for tourism and tourism-related businesses, and the upgrade and maintenance of hotels of below 50 rooms and ancillary businesses. The Export-Import Bank of Trinidad and Tobago has been assigned the responsibility for managing, through an agency agreement, the Trinidad and Tobago Tourism Business Development Limited and the associated Tobago Tourism Development Fund. The fund would have an initial capital of $100 million, with further annual allocations of $50 million over the next 2 years. I propose to stimulate the construction sector and alleviate the needs for housing stock by exempting from income tax the gains or profits derived from the initial sale of newly constructed houses of the class specified in Section 43 by any person registered in the prescribed manner as a trader in such houses. The exemptions provided under Section 42(2)(c) will apply in respect of a house, the cost of construction of which, exclusive of the cost of value of the land, in the opinion of the Minister, having regard to normal building costs prevailing at the time of its construction, would not exceed, at the maximum upper limit, $1,500,000, where construction commenced after October 1st, 2012. The exemptions provided under Section 42(2)(c) will be operative for a period of 3 years, beginning with the date of the passage of the required legislation.
Brilliant.
In respect of land development, I propose to exempt income from the gains on profits derived from the initial sale of land developed for residential housing, where the development of such land commences after October 1st, 2012, and the sale is consummated prior to December 31st. I propose to harmonize the SPT rates issued pre-1988 and the post-1988 for marine areas by removing the distinction between the pre-1988 and post-1988 SPT rate for marine areas. One SPT rate will be allowed for marine areas as currently pertains for land and deep water. The SPT rate for marine areas will be set at a post-1988 rate of 33% for prices ranging from US $50 a barrel to US $90 a barrel for oil. The formula used in determining SPT rates above $90 a barrel will continue, as will the SPT provisions for land and the deep water. Secondly, I should introduce a special SPT rate for new field development to enhance the economics of field development of small pools and increase the competitiveness of this country's fiscal regime. A special SPT rate of 25% is proposed for approved new field developments at prices above US $50 and up to US $90 a barrel. Thereafter, for prices above $90 a barrel and up to US $200 a barrel, the SPT formulas currently exists will be applicable. This new SPT rate is intended to spur development of inactive fields not yet in production. And 3, introduce an uplift of 40% for a period of 5 years on exploration cost, excluding exploration dry holes incurred in undertaking approved projects in deeper horizons. In respect of the reduction of the fuel subsidy, I propose to reduce the fuel subsidy on premium gasoline. The price for premium gasoline will be close to the market price and will be fixed at $5.75 per litre. The new pricing structure will take effect from October 2nd, 2012. We shall continue our government assistance for tuition expenses GATE program. This program has, however, been subjected to some abuse by users and has produced some undesirable results. During the course of the coming year, we shall implement a number of measures with the objective of eliminating waste and abuse as follows. 1. The program will refocus on the areas of priority study necessary to support our strategy for economic and industrial development. 2. Tuition fees for undergraduate programs at both private and public institutions will be funded at varying rates based on their socio-economic priority. 3. The GATE clearance program will apply to all public and private tertiary education programs. And 4. More comprehensive methods on the determination of tuition fees at public and private tertiary education institutions will be instituted. On a general level, we are taking steps to ensure that private tertiary education institutions strengthen their accountability requirements. We will ensure that students who receive GATE funding meet normal academic standards and serve their contractual obligations. In respect of driver's permits, I propose that with effect from November 1st, 2012, upon the first issue, the driver's permit will remain valid for 5 years, and thereafter, upon renewal, the validity would be for a duration of either 5 years or 10 years at the option of the holder of the driver's permit. The fee for the first issue of the driver's permit will remain at $500, and the fee for the 5-year and 10-year renewal periods would be respectively $500 and $1,000. In respect of the licensing department, with effect from October 2nd, 2012, I propose to streamline the fee provisions under the Motor Vehicles and Road Traffic Act and to improve the administration of the licensing department. Motorcycles, school buses, and omnibuses will be brought within the tax net. In light of the increased VAT threshold, 13, in respect of the business levy threshold. In light of the increased VAT threshold, it is also proposed that the threshold for business levy should also increase from $200,000 to $360,000 a year. This measure will take effect from January 1st, 2013. In respect of the transfer of CPEP and URP employees to the private sector, I propose to provide each company which elects to employ CPEP and URP employees with an employment allowance uplift of salary of 150% for tax deduction purposes. For the greater use of compressed natural gas as an alternative transportation fuel. We have been seeking to do so for some time. However, the transition to the usage of CNG by the national community has been less than satisfactory. Mr. Speaker, the transition by motorists and fleet owners to CNG usage has been constrained by a number of factors, including an inadequate refueling experience, the requirement for frequent refueling, and very importantly, from an economic perspective, the substantial disincentive from the fuel subsidies. Mr. Speaker, we have developed a comprehensive business plan which will invest $1.5 billion in converting gasoline vehicles to compressed natural gas as an alternative transportation fuel. Initially, we envisage a 5-year conversion period during which multi-fuel stations would be constructed and pipeline infrastructure to stations would be installed. This business and operational model is based on a target group of approximately 90,000 vehicles covering diesel, maxi taxis, gasoline taxi vehicles, and private high-mileage gasoline vehicles. Mr. Speaker, the full transition to CNG would only take place in the context of the removal of the fuel subsidies, which would contribute significantly to the necessary and efficient allocation of resources so important for growth and transformation. However, I am appropriately concerned with the need to avoid a rapid increase in the rate of inflation and to minimize the effect on the most disadvantaged in the society. For that reason, in order to support the CNG conversion program, I propose to initiate a gradual reduction in the fuel subsidies, beginning with the price for premium gasoline. Effective October 2nd, 2012, the price of premium gasoline would be $5.75 per liter. An interministerial team comprising inter alia the Ministry of Finance and Economy, the Ministry of Energy and Energy Affairs, and such other ministries as will be affected will review additional measures aimed at further addressing and reducing the current levels of subsidies. These measures will be progressively introduced during the fiscal year 2013. Government expenditure is planned on the basis of revenue projections, which are predicated on oil and gas assumptions of US $75 for the Trinidad and Tobago basket of crude and US $2.75 per MCF respectively. It should be noted that an average oil price of US $80 per barrel for Trinidad and Tobago basket of crudes equates to a West Texas intermediate oil price of US $75. Mr. Speaker, we are projecting the following. Total revenue, $50.736 billion. Oil revenue, $20.038 billion. Non-oil revenue, $30.698 billion. And total expenditure, net of capital repayments and sinking fund contribution, of $58.405 billion. Mr. Speaker, I am therefore budgeting for a fiscal deficit of $7.669 billion, or 4.6% of gross domestic product. I propose to reduce this deficit by the equivalent of a minimum of 1% of GDP per annum over succeeding years. Mr. Speaker, I have ensured that the expenditure profile would maintain a delivery of services to ensure the comfort, well-being, and security of our citizens. The allocations to the various ministries would achieve this objective. Education and training, $9.149 billion. Health, $5.108 billion. National security, $5.503 billion. Public utilities, $3.783 billion. Housing, $3.503 billion. Works and infrastructure, $2.412 billion. Transport, $1.82 billion. And agriculture, $1.338 billion. After 3 years of negative and negligible growth, and against a worrisome global environment, we have stabilized the economy with a resumption of 1.2% growth in 2012. We have been able to cope with the stresses and strains ever present in the interconnected world economy. We have put the economy on a self-sustaining growth path over the medium term. We project an annual average growth rate of 2.5%. We have exited the crisis much more quickly than many other similarly circumstanced countries and with substantial economic and financial buffers. We shall pursue a proactive reform and policy agenda for transforming and creating a new Trinidad and Tobago. The well-being of our citizens is paramount to this administration. We have had 4 years of fiscal deficits, but in the main, they were aimed at buttressing economic activity for securing growth and job creation. We have succeeded. We are now at full employment levels, and our policies and programs are aimed at ensuring that our workforce can meet the demands of a growing and increasingly modernized economy. We are now in a position to return the fiscal framework to a sustainable path, and in the process to resume savings for future generations. We have established a roadmap to bring our budget into balance by 2016, if not before. We would balance the need for creating the confidence and trust of our citizens in our fiscal position with the need for supporting growth and development and for generating quality jobs and prosperity. Our state enterprise sector will have to do more with less resources. They must do so through a greater focus on higher performance standards and higher worker productivity. The maintenance of stimulus would underpin our growth dynamics, which are being anchored on an increasing private sector involvement in the economy and improving competitiveness. Central to this process is our commitment to consultation with all our stakeholders. Growth will be further supported by high education standards, by an increased credit flow from our financial institutions, and generally by a commitment of our national community to hard work, discipline, and increased productivity.